Well, the world's biggest music companies such as Universal, Warner, and Sony now looking for partnerships with major AI music firms that they aggressively sued just last year. For more on what the deals could mean for the music industry, let's welcome in here Seth Schachner, Strat, America's founder and managing director, and a former Sony music executive. Seth, it is great to see you on the show. So maybe start high level, Seth, because there is no trend that investors are more excited about than the mega trend and theme of AI. So I'm curious, Seth, to get your high level thoughts. Sure. How you see AI impacting the music industry moving forward? Positive, negative, too soon to say. Yeah. And maybe start, Seth, with what it means for the big labels.
Yeah, sure. Great to be here, Josh. So, it's mixed. It's guardedly a positive thing, AI. In my view, it isn't something that is wildly destructive. It's not what some people would call like a Napster moment where, the industry is looking at it from the perspective of destruction and really declining. But I also just want to be, kind of guarded because I think it's a positive, constructive thing, but I don't think it will be a complete game changer for the recorded music industry. I think what's most important right now is that the industry, the rights holders, the labels, and the publishers, need to set legal benchmarks so that the thing can kind of emerge, out of the muck, if you will, as a legitimate business. And I think that's what the gist of. It hasn't been officially reported. It's sort of been on some reports out there what the gist of this is all about. It looks like the three majors right now are looking to kind of do deals with, rather than sue out of existence, the two major AI platforms in the States, Suno and Udio. So it's guardedly positive.
And so if you were still at Sony, Seth, I'm curious what moves you would be making as you try to leverage and profit from AI. Would it be those kind of deals?
Yeah, and just to be clear, I don't speak for Sony anymore. I got a lot of good friends over there. But I think what I see with this right now, it takes me back to the time when YouTube was launching, actually, around 2007, 2008. And it kind of hit us as rights holders over the head, I think in a bigger way than this AI stuff is done, because we had tons and tons of artists and content that were being viewed and played all over the world, which, to be honest with you, weren't on our radar, weren't even in our active catalogs, and kind of hit us over the head like, oh my God, what's going on here? And I think the benefit of that time, maybe it's going to be like this now, I don't know, is that Google kind of came in and said, we're sorry, here's something for the past infringement, and then here's a big kind of advance, if you will, for the going forward usage of it as well, which will be legitimized. And, I don't know, don't have any inside information to be clear, but that would kind of be my bet as to kind of the top level as to what will go on. Subsequently, there'll be some commercial terms around it as well.
I'm curious, so that's the labels. What would be your advice to artists? And maybe start with, let's say you were a bigger, more established artist. What would you be telling them to do? Because some of them have been coming up with some interesting ideas. I remember Grimes, Seth, if I remember right, she had this idea, like maybe she was telling fans, okay, make music with AI versions of my voice, but then register on my site so we can sort of share in the royalties. What do you think of these different models the artists are experimenting with?
I think, anyone should be encouraging the artist to experiment with this stuff in a constructive way right now. And I think that's what actually Universal is doing. I think Sony's done a little bit of it as well, offered some platforms for the artist to experiment. Because personally, I don't see a mashup that you can create with voice of Tchaikovsky playing in the style of Miles Davis with a heavy metal band in it, is going to be taking over the charts. I think some of this is going to be incremental stuff. But I think the real thing going forward in music, Josh, is that the landscape has really changed. So artists have a lot more power now. They don't need labels, actually. And so they can go to their fans or their fan clubs and create lots of stuff, whether it's B-rolls, artist content, you name it, merchandise. And there's a real opportunity there. And I think some of this AI stuff could play into that. And so I think it's more about, trying to seed the market and making sure your rights are protected if you're a Universal or a Sony or Warner. But it's also about trying to create an ecosystem for artists so that they can kind of play with stuff and experiment. And so the kind of two streams going on, and it's pretty positive. I don't think anyone's going out of business from this specifically.
Last question, Seth. We talked about what this could mean for the labels, for the artists. I'm also curious how you think this ultimately plays out for Seth and Josh, for the consumers. What's this going to mean for us?
Well, it's a great thing. I think there is a larger strategy coming that Universal has publicly avowed. It's called Streaming 2.0, and it includes a lot of cool features, high-fidelity audio, fan clubs, merch. It will include AI stuff, and I think you'll see it I think, as a premium tier within Spotify and perhaps other streamers, Deezer's, others that are out there, and you'll be able to play with this stuff, whether you're doing it or you'll do it. I think that's my hope, that it becomes kind of an incremental positive add-on to the ecosystem right now, as opposed to something that's a messy, destructive thing. But we're early. Copyright law, regulatory stuff isn't there. But I do think if these partnerships happen, it would be a very positive thing.
All right, big, complicated, but exciting topic. Seth, thanks so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Great to be here.